Hello, everyone. Welcome to Nintendo Bitcast. I'm Shifty, and with me we have Mike of Mike's Monster Gaming.
What's up, guys? Mike here.
True Eagle, who's on YouTube and Twitter.
Hey, everybody. It's me, the True Eagle.
And finally, Amanda, which you can find her on Twitter at MandyLeePlays.
Hi.
The links will be in the description below. And on our first episode of Nintendo Bitcast, we have some of the nicest people joining us as guests, NintendoCade.
What's up, guys? Glad to be on. I'm honored.
All right, great to have you with us.
So, yeah, it's very surprised, but I'm glad to join with a legion of Nintendo fans. And I'm sure we have a lot to go through. We have a whole lot of Nintendo news.
Yeah, we have a lot to discuss after all the things Nintendo basically announced in this month alone.
Oh yeah, Nintendo came at us with a lot this month, considering everything that we're about to talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought we could start off by just getting everyone to know us a little bit by talking about what game we're playing now and maybe our favorite franchises.
Okay.
So for myself, I'm currently playing Xenoblade Chronicles 2. And my favorite franchise is Zelda. I've been playing Zelda since I was like 2 years old. So I've been playing it for a really long time. And Mike, what would you say is your favorite franchise? What are you playing now?
Right now, I'm actually been playing a lot with my Nintendo 64. Actually, I've actually been going pretty retro, but I'm a huge fan of the Mario Kart series. So I've been getting into Mario Kart 64, trying to learn how to speedrun it a little bit. Recently, I've also been playing a little bit of Super Mario Odyssey. I just love the Mario franchise in general.
Yeah, Odyssey is a great game. Like I've 100%ed it before, and it's a fantastic game.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Totally agree with that. It's really one of the best games in 2017, for sure.
Easily.
All
right, so what about you, NintendoCade?
For me, I'm always a big fan of the Mario Bros. Franchise and, of course, The Legend of Zelda. And 2017 was a big year for me because both of the big hit games with the two franchises were represented on Nintendo Switch pretty well. Great to see that Breath of the Wild took Game of the Year in a lot of media outlets and represented in many categories. So yeah, those are my two big bread and butter for video games. I mean, I do play other genres as well. I pretty much play everything: RPGs, action, adventure. Another genre is obviously the JRPG franchise is kind of. The genre itself is one of my favorites.
Right. I'm a big fan of a lot of those genres as well, especially strategy.
Oh yeah, strategy games are great.
Yeah.
Nice.
I feel
True Eagle, you want to go next?
Sure. Right now I'm actually doing a I was kind of taking a bit of a break, but I've been doing a Let's Play of Super Mario Galaxy, which is actually probably one of my favorite games of all time. But when I'm not recording, I've actually been playing a lot of Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time on the 3DS. And I've generally just been trying to catch up with the whole Zelda franchise since, unlike probably most people here in this podcast, I've actually only gotten into the Zelda franchise probably maybe a year or two ago, so I'm fairly new to the series. But I'm really loving the game, and
That's really interesting.
Sure.
Awesome.
I mean, you're not alone on that. I just got into Breath of the Wild myself last year, so Breath of the Wild is actually my first Zelda game, so you're not alone on that, True Eagle.
Oh wow.
That's a very interesting thing to know, actually.
My first Zelda
That's
game was
cool.
My first Zelda game was
Yeah.
actually,
It's nice to see a fresh perspective on the whole thing.
Yeah.
Because I never really got into the Zelda games back in my childhood, but Breath of the Wild just looked so great, and I definitely wanted to give it a shot and see what all the hype was about. And it's definitely well deserved, though, considering it got Game of the Year last year.
From what I've heard from other people, Breath of the Wild is actually the least Zelda-like game, and I'm not sure where people are coming from with this, but going back and playing Ocarina of Time, I can actually kind of see how it's a very untraditional Zelda game.
It's more open world.
It definitely is.
Which I think works in the series' favor because it helps draw new people in. It doesn't make people feel like they're missing out by not playing the other games. It makes it easier for people to just jump in.
It does have an easy entry point going in, though. I came from a background playing NES all the way from the NES. I played almost every Zelda game, so But yeah, it does have a good point where people can just dive in. There's no holding hands, and they just do whatever they like. So it's like more akin to the first NES Zelda, in my opinion, though.
Which is great to bring in a new audience as well.
Yeah.
But
All right,
Mandy Lee, what about you? What have you been playing lately?
Well, I just switch games all the time, but mostly I'm playing Mario Odyssey and Pokmon Tournament,
Mm.
and I've been playing my DS a lot.
Do you play a lot of fighting games generally, or is Pokemon kind of like a new thing for you?
It's a new thing. I'm not really into fighting games. I'm more like a JRPG, RPG kind of person.
Mm.
My favorite franchise is Zelda. I've played every game.
Wow.
And
Nice.
I grew up with Zelda. It's like my fave. But I also play the PlayStation and the Xbox. So I play a lot of different games. So
Kind of
Yeah,
diverse
so do
game.
I. I own basically every modern console right now, so I like to jump around a lot myself too.
I pretty much own almost every single modern console myself, but I only have a PS4 and the Switch right now because, I mean, PC kind of handles the rest for me when I'm doing my variety streaming on Twitch and YouTube. Mainly Twitch these days, but, you know.
Right.
That's cool.
I've never been too much of a PC gamer myself, so I guess the Xbox just kind of bridges that for myself.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
All right, so now that everyone has shared a little bit about themselves, I think it's time we talk about the Nintendo Direct Mini that happened not too long ago.
Right.
So, is there any specific announcement that kind of caught out to you guys, that kind of just jumped out?
Well, before we get into it, I just kind of found it funny that it just kind of came out of nowhere on the 11th. Like, everyone was kind of expecting it, but all the news just randomly popped up out of nowhere. It just randomly showed up on Twitter. I thought that was a pretty interesting way of introducing everything.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
actually pretty hilarious, waking up that day and just finding
It just-
Oh, here it is.
it just dropped out of nowhere.
Is that the first time Nintendo has done that, or have they done that before?
I believe so.
They've done it before, actually. They've done
Yeah.
it before with I believe it was the Chibi Robo and
Well, they used the Chibi Robo as a troll.
yeah, I remember
Oh, yeah, that
yeah.
TV Robo troll was funny.
Yeah.
And it's great. And I think the final announcement of the Direct Mini, Dark Souls, kind of the picture they used for Chibi Robo just hinted towards that. And it's
Yeah, a
kinda
little
funny.
bit, definitely for sure, but
I would never have guessed that Chibi Robo on fire. Dark Souls.
but Nintendo's literally was feeding off the anticipation of first Nintendo Direct in 2018 because no one knew what was coming.
Without a doubt, they knew that we were anxious for it, so they had fun playing with our emotions a little bit. The whole
And there was
Talk
the
to
constant
tweet
theme of
and all
fire
the
as
other
well.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And even Nintendo New York did a tweet that kind of added
Yeah.
fuel into added gasoline to fire, I would say.
Yeah.
oh yeah, for sure.
I think GameStop tweeted something out, like immediately deleted at one point as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they put out a gif of Reggie just like hitting his watch repeatedly, saying that Direct was gonna be in 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
but either way, I have the entire list of games actually pulled up here, but The World Ends With You, the game that hasn't been seen in like 10 years. How do you guys feel about that game?
I'm actually excited.
so funny enough, I've heard a ton about that game, but I've never played it.
Me either, actually,
That's the same
surprisingly
thing for
enough.
me. It got me intrigued though. I actually considered getting. I'm a retro collector, and I always considered getting that game. But it's I never got my hands on it. But now with coming out the Nintendo Switch, I guess you could call it HD remix of it. Kind of got me intrigued, and I love the art style of it. So
Oh yeah, the art style looks great on it.
Yeah, well, for me, it was because I'm a huge Kingdom Hearts fan, and those characters were in the game, and I always wanted to play it because I wanted to see like where those characters came from.
Right.
That
right.
was-
They were from I believe it was Kingdom Hearts on the 3DS, right?
Yeah, Dream Drop Distance. That's when I first saw them, and I was like, at first I didn't know that they had a separate game.
That's actually really interesting to know. I didn't know that either. I learned something new today.
yeah, I didn't know that. That's something new. All right.
So wait,
Yeah,
man,
man.
you actually played The World Ends With You before?
No.
All right.
So it seems to be new for everyone here, actually.
Yeah, just
I've never
about.
played it either. I've heard good things about it, but I've never played it.
We can all conclude that at the very least it intrigued us.
Yeah, it was
Right,
definitely
yeah.
an interesting thing to see after 10 years. I know people wanted it.
Yeah, definitely. I'm definitely gonna pick it up myself after hearing all the good things about it.
Yeah, me too.
I'll put one there.
I think.
Alright, so the next game that... Oh, wait. Is everyone done with World Ends with You, or...
Yeah, we
Yeah.
can move on if you need.
Alright. Well, pretty much the next thing on the list, speaking of Pokemon, man, the Pokmon Tournament DX has DLC coming out, which kind of surprised me a little bit.
Yeah, it surprised me too, which is weird
Yeah.
because I would think the deluxe edition of a game would be kind of the end of that game.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
not expecting 2 new characters to come out of nowhere, being in the form of Aegislash. I forget what generation he's from, but I know Blastoise obviously is from Gen 1.
I
So
believe
very
Aegislash
interesting.
is 6th gen, if I remember
Right.
correctly.
Again, 2 very interesting choices, though, to pick for actual battle characters.
Yeah,
And then
Can I just point out, let's have a little like rest in peace moment for Venusaur being the only 1st gen starter not getting in.
yeah, that's kind of sad. Who knows?
Yeah.
Honestly, we'll get to that, but I still think that now that this is the thing, I definitely think more DLC could possibly come down the line.
Yeah, it's certainly possible.
It definitely depends on how all this does, but I know Aegislash comes with Mega Rayquaza and another Pokemon. I genuinely forgot which one.
I
And
believe
then I
it
know
was
that...
Mimikyu.
Oh yeah, Mimikyu. I love Mimikyu. Mimikyu would have been great to see as a battle character, but again, the Aegislash with those 2 characters is a very interesting pair-up. And then I believe Blastoise came with Celebi and Jirachi. No, Celebi and Mew.
I'm not really excited because I used one Pokemon in that whole game, which is what's her name? Man, I forgot.
Braixen.
No, the psychic type.
Oh, Gardevoir.
I totally
Gardevoir,
forgot.
Something like that.
Oh yeah, Gardevoir.
Hmm.
I mean, that's kind of me too. I only mainly use Gengar in that game because Gengar is like one of my favorite Gen 1 Pokemon.
And I used Blaziken.
I'm a Charizard guy.
Yeah.
Ah man, I'm gonna hate fighting you then.
But I think one of the thoughts that when I was listening to you guys not expecting an update on Pokemon Tournament DX because obviously it is a deluxe version and they don't really make updates on it. But one of the things that you guys been noticing, Nintendo's been updating lately for all their competitive games. That includes Splatoon 2. That's constantly been updating. ARMS went to 4.0, and then of course Pokemon Tournament DX is kind of like the outlier of a game. It's still a competitive game. It is a fighting game in its nature.
Right.
So with the last year they announced Nintendo Versus, kind of gets the idea of Nintendo wants to get into the competitive scene even more, and on top of what they did with the Nintendo World Championships last year. So kind of gives you a view of their kind of plans of what they want to do in the strategy. Obviously, we're gonna speak more about different topics with the Nintendo level, but that's another line. But you can see that their global strategy is just really expanding a type of audience that's around with their ecosystem and their games.
Yeah, they
absolutely.
I want to see Smash Bros.
Yeah, I have no idea how badly I want that to show up on the Switch.
Same here, but I think we gotta give it another year or 2 before that even becomes a thing.
Yeah, they're really spacing.
We definitely see that Nintendo is definitely starting to get more into the esports community for sure. You definitely see them with the Nintendo Versus Twitter and the fact that they want to actually start expanding more on fighting and competitive games. And it's really nice to see it, and I'm sure when Smash becomes a thing, which probably won't take too much longer, I would say maybe another year or 2, they'll definitely end up expanding on that for sure.
Yeah, I think they're just holding their big guns until the very toward the end.
Right now they're making good money on Breath of the Wild and Odyssey, and Kirby Star Allies, which is probably going to be coming out in a month or 2, which is the next game on this list.
Yeah, so what do you think exactly about Kirby Star Allies? Like,
I'm actually super excited about it because Kirby is one of my favorite franchises in the Nintendo series. The fact that Meta Knight's even going to be in there, I know he's a boss, but Meta Knight's like my favorite Kirby character, so any appearance of Meta Knight just has to be super hype. And King Dedede not skipping Arm Day is pretty interesting too as a boss.
See, I've been missing out on Kirby games for a long time now. I haven't played Robobot, I haven't played the other 3DS game, and I haven't played the one on the Wii either.
Oh, you gotta get on that because Return to Dreamland, Kirby Robobot, and Triple Deluxe are all fantastic Kirby titles. I think those are like some of Kirby's strongest games in recent years.
I'm playing Triple Deluxe now.
Oh,
it's
nice.
so cute.
Kirby definitely is. I think, in my opinion, is probably the cutest Nintendo character.
Oh, absolutely.
Like,
not only that, though, they made Kirby majestic this time around. They have they put the stars in his eyes.
Oh yeah,
Like,
and
if
he
you,
has
like,
like
if you look
space
close, yeah,
in the box
yeah,
art, right?
yeah, like if you look close to the box art, I love the detail that they put on it this time around.
I think I'm definitely gonna jump into this one just because I've been craving Kirby, but I don't. Knowing that there's a new Kirby game coming out, I'm just kind of attracted to that one more than buying some of
Oh,
the
you
older
mean
ones.
Kirby?
and playing
You
for
mean
them.
Kirby Battle Royale?
Well, Battle Royale doesn't seem like an actual Kirby game to me.
Yeah,
if that
it's
makes sense.
not a traditional.
Oh, it's definitely not. It's a spin-off, but it's a pretty fun
Yeah.
spin-off too. I picked that up recently. It's a fun little spin-off.
Yeah, I'm sure it is, but I need like traditional Kirby. If that.
Oh
Makes
no, I
sense.
definitely think that this will definitely satisfy that craving for sure. I know.
Triple Deluxe is good, and it's $20.
Oh yeah, Triple Deluxe is a fantastic title too. Like the whole
Right.
thing with the fruit that Kirby eats in that game is also a nice little mechanic that they added in there.
I'm gonna be
We'll
honest.
probably try that at some point. But I did want to talk about Mario Tennis Aces for a bit, considering that to me in that direct seemed to be the newest game there, since it's not a port of any kind, and it's a new.
Oh yeah,
That is
I mean,
true.
did you guys want to talk about Hyrule Warriors before that? Because that was right after Kirby. You want to go to the Hyrule Warriors after Mario Tennis Aces?
We could talk about it. Yeah, let's do that.
Because I mean, Hyrule Warriors, I don't really know how to feel about that. Because I mean, we're also going to end up talking about this also down the line, but the Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze port, I also don't know how to feel about that. Because
Well,
All right,
I mean,
well,
Yeah.
I totally.
well,
we could
Hyrule
definitely talk
Warriors,
about
though.
both at the same time, considering they both kind of fall under the Wii U ports.
Well, for me, I think the Hyrule Warriors definitive version, and of course Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. You have to understand this. Nintendo's strategy is the audience on Nintendo Switch is such a bigger scope than what was Nintendo Wii U, because obviously right now the lifetime sales of Nintendo Switch beat the Nintendo Wii U already pretty much for all regions, and that tells you and how well that the Switch has been doing well. So a lot of people did not get the chance to play those two games, even though like ourselves, I guess we consider considered core audience for Nintendo. We pretty much buy their major core titles for the most part. But for the regular consumers out there, not many of them have tried these games, especially games like Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. Over the time span that was on Nintendo Wii U, many people have not tried it. That's actually that I've noticed throughout my time on YouTube. There are countless videos that are saying like it's such a fantastic game, and I agree to that. It's actually one of my favorite games, favorite Donkey Kong games. Going back all the way back to even Donkey Kong Country 2, Diddy's Conquest on the Super NES. That tells you a
agree
lot.
with that too, because I didn't get to beat Tropical Freeze, but I got far enough where I was like, yeah, this is a really good game.
Believe it or not, I haven't played it at all.
There you go. That's a good example.
That's pretty much what Nintendo's going for here, but I don't know. I mean, the fact that there's a new that you can use Funky Kong and Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze and everything, which is kind of an interesting thing. He's pretty much like the OP character of the game. He has like infinite rolls, infinite jumps.
Yeah,
Not infinite jumps, but he can hover. Yeah, pretty much. Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze, I can understand the port, but I don't know. I think people might be a little bit sour about Hyrule Warriors. The fact that like there was already one port on the Wii U, and then they also ported it to 3DS, and now they're porting everything over to the Switch again. Like I can only imagine those people that ended up buying like two versions of games now got to buy it a third time.
Yeah, that's me. But honestly, I love Zelda, so I can't really say. I kind of like wish they didn't, but it happened. So
No, I know. I also understand it from Nintendo's point of view. Like, not a lot of people play these games on the Wii U, so I also get in that regard.
Yeah,
Nintendo got
enough is that I've played the game on both the Wii U and the 3DS. I'm assuming just like Mandy did, but I'm not too sour about it. I mean, I do have a theory about how they're handling Hyrule Warriors going to Switch, about the hypothetical handling of Smash going to Switch. It kind of seems, yeah, it seems like they're basically taking the Wii U versions of Hyrule Warriors and the 3DS version and just combining the two and putting it on the Switch.
Honestly, if they did that for Super Smash Bros., I'm telling you right now, I would end up buying that in a heartbeat. I would not mind that.
Yeah, I wouldn't care.
Although every one of us played that game like thousands of hours, and we're still not sour about it.
Right.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's my personal theory. I feel as though if they put Smash on Switch, it's gonna be handled the same way, where they're gonna put in both versions and just kind of fuse the features together and just do it.
Oh
on.
yeah, I mean, I don't mind as long as they put Smash Run on it, I'll be happy.
Right. I think
I
that's
mean, I think it's just suffice to say is it may not be for everyone, but it definitely could expand that audience that people haven't tried it on the Wii U. I think that's the major point
Right.
that the Wii U has not really reached a mass audience that Nintendo was hoping to become. It is actually, to be honest, though, as looking at statistics, actually one of the worst selling systems for Nintendo, unfortunately.
Oh yeah, yeah, it sucks, but yeah.
It's
Right.
like they got lucky that the Wii U sold so poorly, so they could justify putting ports on the Switch, I guess.
In a sense, yeah, that definitely sounds about right.
I kind
So it
Go
came
ahead.
out good.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But the games that they re kind of doing ports for to the Switch is actually for the most part, if you look at Metacritic or any of the reviews that were published, were actually favorable reviews. So that's probably why they have confidence in putting this out in the market, releasing it maybe the second or third time to capture a different set of people.
Oh yeah,
And-
100%. And if the games are good on Wii U and then no one really got a chance to play them, it definitely makes sense to bring such great games over to the Switch and then just touch them up a bit and give us like much better graphics and then add all the features that weren't in there before. It definitely is a smart strategy on Nintendo's part.
Honestly,
Yeah.
the way I see the Wii U is kind of like it was a beta for what the Switch was going to become. I don't know.
Oh,
It's kinda like a theory.
I agree with that 100%.
Yeah.
The Switch is what
The Switch is what the Wii U should have been.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right. And even though the Wii U didn't do well, I would say, basically most of the games that came out on the system were fantastic games.
I totally agree
Yeah.
with that, though. I totally agree with that.
Commercially, it didn't do well, but as far as games or everything else, pretty much the Wii U did really well. If you don't look at sales numbers, everything else, I think the Wii U did really well. If you look at just the quality of the games only, which I think that's what's most important for any console. Really, it's how good the games are. It's just that they marketed it poorly.
Oh yeah.
The marketing was their biggest problem with the Nintendo Wii U. Most people didn't even know it was actual new system versus the
Yeah.
Wii.
Yeah,
It was
I
kind of like a
Everyone thought it
tablet
was like an
add-on.
expansion of the Wii, sadly.
Yeah, in fact, there were reports of people trying to steal a Wii U and only taking the tablet controller.
Huh.
Yeah, which I thought was pretty funny.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Let's see
But-
how far they get.
Oh yeah.
And
Oh,
so
man.
we were talking about Mario Tennis Aces. So
Yes, that game is gonna. I'm really hoping because I'm a huge fan of the sports franchises in the Mario series. I really hope it's not like Mario Sports Superstars, and I really hope that they're trying to go back to something similar to what the Nintendo 64 games and the GameCube and Wii games had in terms of their features for that. Because that's what this game is definitely looking like to me, at least.
Yeah, I'm excited for it.
we
I
cross our
haven't
fingers.
played like any tennis or sports game,
Yeah, I've
except for
never
Wii
really been
Sports.
into-
but I'm excited.
Well, for me, I'm actually pretty excited for the game. Especially, I hope that even like you guys expressing concerns of the direction that the Mario Sports franchise has been going, or even the Mario Party franchise, has been handled by
Yeah.
different teams.
I could legitimately go on a rant for like how bad the Mario Party games have gotten.
Yeah.
But yeah, at least with Mario Tennis Aces, like the story mode looks very promising. Like the fact that you're able to fight against P. Piranha in one of the shots, and then also you're firing tennis balls back at Piranha plants. That kind of reminded me of some stuff from like the earlier Mario games, which is great.
Right, and I was
Um,
actually saying in a video I made recently that I never actually played. Well, I just kind of assumed that Mario sports games weren't for me because I'm not a guy who's into sports in general. But I also acknowledge that probably doesn't make too much sense considering I like Mario Kart, but I never touch racing games.
Oh, like, yeah. Oh, yeah, I never played a sport in my life other than bowling, but I love the Mario sports games.
Yeah.
Speaking of Mario Party, I hope they like revisit the older titles and bring it
Same
to the
here.
Switch.
Oh, absolutely. Like that
It
definitely
just
needs to
makes
be a thing.
sense.
I feel like a
Like
lot of
Mario
people
Party,
feel
the
that
top
way.
100, it would have been fantastic if they would have put that on the Switch because they had so many great mini games in there, but the main modes otherwise kind of still fell apart.
You never
I
know.
would
Mario
like
Tennis
if they-
Aces definitely looks promising though.
You
I
never
would
know,
like if they
might port it
revisited the idea of top 100, but also brought back maybe the top 10 boards.
See,
Yeah.
that's something I would have definitely went with too. Like bring back like one great board, like one or two amazing boards from each of the original 10 Mario parties.
Right.
Yeah, that would be good.
For me, I just think that they should obviously revisit a lot of the mechanics that made the Mario Party franchise known the way it is, from the N64 to the GameCube, made it to be a popular type of Mario game in general. Because they kind of took I kind of guess a risk in doing different things with the Wii and the Wii U era of Mario Parties that it's a little bit different, and it doesn't resonate as well as it did with retro fans like us that we played the originals that we can appreciate more.
Oh, yeah, like I'm a huge N64 buff. The original 3 Mario parties will always be my favorites.
I totally agree with that. The first 3 were, in my opinion, easily the best of the franchise, and with 9 and 10 focusing on the what was it, the car mechanic? Yeah, the car mechanic. That alone made me not want to play those games, but I did play the mini games anyway, if that makes sense.
I will admit Mario Party 9 is tolerable only because of the fact that Shy Guy is playable.
Right.
I haven't played a Mario Party game since 8. Yeah.
I think that's around the same time I stopped playing them too.
Mm.
Right.
But I guess we can all agree that we're all hoping that Mario Tennis, going back to the topic.
Yes, Mario Tennis Aces.
Aces is in a direction that looks promising because it actually has a story
Right.
mode. And looking back at the old classic titles, which is they brought back from a Game Boy Advance title, and kind of rekindled that nostalgic feeling for the
Oh yeah,
title.
absolutely. It's also kind of interesting that Mario and his friends are now garbed in tennis attire. I've seen Waluigi and Mario in polo shirts was kind of funny to see.
Mhm.
It was pretty cool to see that.
Waluigi with that cowlick.
It's also a definite improvement over the tennis game we had on the Wii U.
Oh god, don't
There was a
remind me
game?
of Ultra Smash. That's why
Ultra
it's a sprint
Smash.
team.
Ultra Smash.
Yes,
Yeah.
more like Ultra Crash.
Oh man.
Anyway,
So the
next game on the list, I believe. I mean, there's some other third-party stuff, but I think the next major Nintendo game on here was actually the Break Out the Balloons update for Super Mario Odyssey. The whole balloon ride.
Right.
That was kind of cool, though. The whole speedrunning idea, the fact you could hide a balloon somewhere and then legitimately like find your friend's balloons in like a certain amount of time. What do you guys think about that?
Well, for myself, personally, I've never been too much of a speedrunner, so this specific update doesn't really appeal to me as much. I feel as though I'm gonna probably try it once or twice and never play it again, to be honest. But
Yes.
I do see how this could be fun for people who enjoy speedrunning.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Well, for
Also,
me,
oh yeah, go ahead.
no, well, for me, the obviously first and foremost, it is a free DLC, so I'm not going to complain about that.
Right,
So,
that's perfect.
sure.
Yeah.
the point is, for me, what I'm trying to say is, at least I like that in the fact that Nintendo is offering DLC in this kind of manner that doesn't charge the consumer for extra things that wasn't original in the game, like versus other companies out there. I don't know if you guys heard of EA.
Yeah.
Taking out content and then charging with microtransactions. I mean, so far what Nintendo's been offering with their DLC, even paid or free, is I think it's so far worthwhile what they're offering. I mean, it's a decent amount of content for what you're paying, but also if it's free, it's a freebie that, I mean, you can't complain. I mean, like what Shifty said, it may not be appealing to everyone, but at least it's an option there for you to try it out. If it appeals to you, that adds the value to what you already have. If not, that's okay. You still have the full-fledged game there for you to play with.
Of course. Also, one last thing to throw in, I also forgot to mention that if you don't like the speedrun thing, at least you also get 3 free outfits. You get the Knight outfit, you get the Mario Sunshine outfit. I forgot what the third one was. I think it was like a Mafia-type outfit. Like with the fedora and the suit. I think that's what it was.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Yeah, not every gamer and or DLC has to appeal to you, so it's fine if they don't, you know.
100%.
It kind of surprised me that they didn't charge for it, because they could have easily put a little $2 or $3 price tag on that, and people gladly would have paid for it. I don't think there would have been that much outrage over it or whatever. So it's nice on their part to make it available for free.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Well, I don't know about you guys, right? But me personally, my biggest announcement for that direct was actually a third-party game.
Oh, what was that?
Dark Souls.
Dark Souls. That's right.
I was gonna guess Payday.
Well, so I think sorry to cut it off, but before Dark Souls, the one other thing I don't think anyone really cared too much about. My other interesting announcement that was in there was Donkey Kong being playable in Mario+Rabbids Kingdom Battle. How did you guys feel about that? Just quick thoughts.
Right. Personally, I actually really liked Mario+Rabbids. I kind of went into it thinking that it was just going to be an okay game, but it ended up being a lot better than I expected. Although, even with that being said, I'm not too sure about the DLC because I want to see more of it before.
Oh yeah, 100%.
I think one of the confusing parts about that reveal was obviously they showed a pre-rendered video of Mario+Rabbids with Donkey Kong being the reveal of the big part of it, adding a new character. But we don't know what mode it adds, what the features, or how the gameplay works with Donkey Kong.
Well, it's like a new story altogether. We don't know any of that.
We don't know any of that. It was a very...
Honestly, in the trailer, it kind of looked like it could have possibly been a new story mode, but I could be wrong on that.
It is confirmed that they are adding a new story, basically.
Oh, nice.
But,
Okay.
yeah. But we don't know anything about what that story is, what Donkey Kong does. If I had to assume, it's probably Boomerang like banana is probably going to be part of it, considering that seemed to be how he was fighting the rabbits in the trailer.
That looks like his weapon, basically.
Right. So I'm thinking it's probably
instead of a gun, instead of a blaster.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking something along those lines for him.
One of the biggest, Mike Monster Game was talking about. I should say, Shifty, you were talking about your
right.
announcement that you like the most is Dark Souls.
Oh yeah, that was like the last thing that that was crazy.
It's a great announcement for me. That you just mentioned that game. I'm gonna continue on that thought. I mean, for me, I think that even though Dark Souls may not appeal to me, but I do like the fact that third parties are on board with Nintendo Switch. Tells you how healthy the system is. I mean, it kind of rekindles back to when the last time I saw this kind of support for third party to Nintendo's platform is like going all the way back to the Super Nintendo when they were dominating the market still versus the Genesis. And I mean, ever since the Nintendo 64, third party has been kind of weaning off of Nintendo, kind of giving the cold shoulders. Even to this day, that legacy still stands. And this is the generation I see a big shift. We got like last generation, we got Doom, we have LA Noire. I mean, of course, Dark Souls is one of the more recent announcements that kind of gives you a hint at what third parties are thinking, their stance on the platform. And we also have other games that were announced on the Nintendo Direct Mini that we're going to get forward to. And it's also third parties as well.
Right.
Yeah, there was some really crazy announcements for sure.
I do think that Dark Souls being announced as a new game, technically speaking, it is a remaster of an old game, but the remaster wasn't known before, period.
Oh, right? Yeah.
And the fact that they announced a third-party game first on Nintendo's platform, I think says a lot.
Yeah, I'm personally getting it for the PlayStation.
Right.
But it's always nice to have more games on the Switch.
Exactly, because if a third party doesn't end up on Switch, then it doesn't go from they're even, now it's missing something.
Yeah, so the more the merrier.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I'm getting it for my PlayStation.
What also like the strategy that we were talking about before? We were talking about Nintendo capturing different sets of audience here. With the type of all the games that come on this platform, you have to understand, like, obviously everyone has their choice of what platform to go to. We're, as core Nintendo fans, we're obviously going to get a Nintendo Switch. But for the consumer out there that's considering what is the best system that they can get for their bang for their buck, and for having these type of titles, like, oh, I can get the Nintendo titles, but also I can also get the third-party titles. Maybe the Nintendo Switch makes it a more appealing purchase for the casual consumer versus someone who, obviously a Nintendo fan, will get that one system. With that in mind, that will get a bit, it kind of brings in more of the people that they missed out on the Wii U, and that I think that strategy is
like they sold Skyrim again.
Oh yeah,
right.
And it did great.
Skyrim's on pretty much everything at this point.
Skyrim's on everything. I think maybe not on the phone. I don't know.
Well,
not yet.
Give it time, maybe. But again, third party like NintendoCade and Shifty pretty much said is definitely strong. I mean, look at some of the other games that we ended up getting in this Nintendo Direct that were third party. SNK Heroines Tag Team Frenzy looked pretty good. That one I might be picking up.
I don't know why, but I when I saw that game, I don't know too much of the SNK world, but I grew up on the arcade era of gaming, and a lot of the characters I do recognize. So for me, I might go for it. It looks
Same here. It looked pretty fun.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest shocker. Oh wait, you were gonna say something?
Like besides third party, I think the Switch has a lot of indie like potential, which is great.
It definitely does.
There was one indie game that was in the Direct that was actually really good too. I feel like
Faye and Celeste.
those both look like really interesting games for indie titles.
Faye definitely looks interesting, but having the EA stamp scares me.
Yeah, it definitely does.
Yeah, it really. When I saw EA's name on it, I'm like, oh no.
But I think But I think the biggest shocker for all of us, I don't even know that because I don't even know how long this was in development. But I think one of the other interesting third-party titles that was announced was Payday 2.
I totally wasn't expecting that. I'm gonna be honest.
Right. I will give a warning to everyone right now. Payday 2 on consoles is probably one of the worst experiences you can have of the game.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Right. So you could it's probably great on the Switch. I have no idea. Obviously, the game isn't out yet. But compared to their PC counterparts, the developers behind Payday just does not support the console version.
Oh yeah, 100%.
That's like a bare bone.
Right, like expect something bare bones.
All they got was like a new mask for a character.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So yeah, definitely expect something bare bones. I wouldn't expect updates either. It's probably
in the Direct Mini, they actually mentioned stuff about the HD Rumble, and that's something that, although it may have been on other consoles, it's a unique experience to the Switch. So that may be something that makes it attractive for people, or makes it, makes people want to buy it.
Oh yeah,
definitely supporting the different unique features of the Switch might help it out. But I'm not too sure. It depends, because especially if the consumer knows of those problems, but the average consumer probably doesn't.
No.
So yeah, it probably still do well.
Oh yeah. But I think with that, that is pretty much all the games that needed to be covered in the Nintendo Direct Mini, unless there was anything else you guys wanted to add in.
One other game that we haven't mentioned. I know for me, for when I said early in the podcast that I'm a big JRPG fan, and it's one of the I never played before, but it kind of got me intrigued. I know that many of you guys may not agree to that. Was Ys 8.
That's right.
Oh yeah, that also looked like a pretty interesting game.
It was actually pretty well reviewed. So that's something that it may not appeal to everyone. I totally agree with that, and not many people know about it. But to see that this level of commitment from third-party developers shows the confidence, and I'm really looking forward to trying it. I never played an Ys game, so I may give that a go.
And something I want to point out about the third parties. It's interesting to see both. Was it Ys is how you pronounce it? I'm not sure.
It's like the letter E after before F.
Right. Okay. So Ys and Dark Souls, both of their developers originally said very negative things about Nintendo in the past. I don't know if you guys were aware about that.
No, I definitely wasn't. That's interesting to know. Right.
Falcom of Ys basically said that the crowd, the Nintendo crowd, basically is too casual for their kind of games. And back when Dark Souls 2 was releasing, when people were demanding it on the Wii U, they basically laughed it off. So I think it's interesting to see their old mentality when it comes to Nintendo, and in seeing how they are now and releasing their games on their.
They knew to hop on the hype wagon. Nintendo's got the hype right now with the Switch.
They probably made
it's definitely improved over time.
For sure.
I'm guessing they probably made those comments before the Switch actually started selling really well, and knowing Nintendo's niche audience probably wouldn't be interested in it. But now the fact that it has such a big install base and it's growing all the time, they see, I guess, potential for their own game finding a little bit of success on the platform as well.
Mm-hmm. Totally, it's all about the install base in the end. That's what draws these third parties in. But what am I most concerned about when I talk about these third parties is when they see that a install base is great, and obviously there's going to be a ton of shovelware that comes to the platform. That's not what I want. We obviously want to avoid that, because they see, Nintendo is pumping out money for these Nintendo Switch. But then again, the quality control we hope is there, because so far the games that's been released on Nintendo Switch from third party or Nintendo itself is like pretty much solid titles, meaning like they're known title, they're known franchises, and even third parties are putting their titles that they know that it's been around for, like Ys 8. It's been around for like since 8 titles at least. You guys noticed that. We talked about SNK before. SNK has a history in the arcades and countless other titles that from last generation that you see that were brought to Nintendo Switch were known. Like LA Noire has been on other platforms before. Doom is an established franchise since the PC era. So they're not taking risks. So what I want to see third parties move on for 2018 is they're taking more risks with original titles, like meaning it's from the like maybe Final Fantasy 15. I'm just saying, or 16 or whatever it is that they're coming out with the next game. Hopefully, then take that jump forward and bring in new titles from established franchises, or even take risks of making a new franchise entirely. That's something I would like to see.
That would be great.
No, I think
it's also I believe, what was the game called? By Square Enix. They're coming out with an original title for the Switch as well.
Oh yeah,
they announced that a while ago.
Yeah.
Oh, one for me I'm
more
looking
of
forward
that.
to is Project Octopath. I love that. I love the demo.
Yeah, that's the game.
I thought that was Bravely Default at first. Like
It-
they were
is
gonna
that-
make a third one.
It's made from the same developers for Brave Default, so maybe that's what you're kind of gearing towards that feel.
Yeah.
But it is an original title on its own, though. That's a great site.
And it plays well from what I've gathered from the demo.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
All right, so I think that's about enough talk about Nintendo Direct Mini. So I think it's time to talk about the more recent announcement with Nintendo Labo.
Yeah.
Now
Okay.
Nintendo Labo is a very interesting beast in its own right, but yeah,
That's a whole podcast in itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems to have very
Um,
mixed reception. A lot
Right.
of people, a lot of very positive or very negative feelings. I don't think there's anyone
It's
that's really in the middle.
It's definitely divisive.
Yeah.
It's just it was odd. And that's
was
coming
odd.
from Nintendo.
Yeah.
I actually found some pretty
well, I don't know if
interesting
you guys
things
knew
about
this,
Labo.
but I learned this kind of recently. But did you guys know that over 40 years ago, Nintendo actually made cardboard toys that you could actually fold into themselves
Yeah, I
to
read
actually
about
make
that.
cardboard toys?
They're going
Interesting.
back to
Because
that.
for some reason, Nintendo has a weird habit of going back to old things that they've done in the past and bringing them into a new light in this day and age.
Definitely.
So I found that kind of interesting to find out.
Well, they do have a large history of doing very interesting things in their venture, because obviously it's a company that started in 1882, and they have all kinds of gears and gadgets and gizmos that they release over time. And they even have a love hotel in Japan.
Right.
And all the Ultra Hand by Gunpei Yokoi and all that good stuff. But for the funny thing, when I was watching that, I was sort of not surprised, but then again, I was surprised. Like, wow, we're literally gonna be playing with cardboard.
Oh, man.
It just has a Nintendo name slapped on it, and that's a must purchase for me.
It's definitely the main reason why I love Nintendo so much. Like, it's announcements like this that totally just screw with your whole idea of what they're gonna do next.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
not.
Oh
afraid
yeah,
to
it
take risks.
legitimately threw me off guard. But again, I love Nintendo for their their ingenuity and their intuition to try to build something like this.
They said
right.
it was for like kids, but I was thinking a game for kids.
I was
kind of
thinking the
like-
same.
But okay, I'll take.
If you think about it, if you think back to when they first released Amiibo, I think people had a very similar reaction to that. They didn't think it would catch on. They think it would be like a fad and that like it would just blow away, I guess, but it stuck around.
Right.
I think
and-
it's the fact that it's cardboard, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, people are latching on to the $70 and $80 price tags on the
Yeah.
kids,
Yeah,
and just
it's
thinking that the cardboard is
legitimately-
worth that much.
Yeah, it's legitimately $70 and $80 worth of cardboard, but it also comes with the game. But again, you're paying $70 and $80 for cardboard.
Bottom line, if you think like a business person, look at how much money can they make off of cardboard. That's the
Oh,
yeah.
ingenuity about it.
Profit margins are
Investors are
really
falling
big
in
Oh,
love with it too. If you haven't
Yeah.
heard,
The
So-
Nintendo stocks went up pretty well for that.
yeah, about
Oh,
$1 billion,
yeah.
I believe.
It went like 4% or something. I think it was from one day to the next after the announcement.
Yeah. And I had a question written down originally, but now this question is completely redundant after seeing how it's performing. But originally, I was going to ask you guys, how will it do on the market? What do you think? But now if you go on Amazon's bestsellers, it's both kits are already up there in like the top 5. Or so.
Wow, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, a lot of people think it's a good idea. Like I did a poll on my Twitter, and most people like the idea of the Lobo thingy.
I think the general consensus is people are like, what in the world is this? But at the same time, it's a good idea, because for me, when I first saw that, I did a reaction to when I first witnessed that, and when I first saw that, my first reaction was it may not gear to everyone, but they made it clear it's not for everyone.
Well, again, before the announcement actually went down, they literally said, "Listen up for this announcement that is crafted towards kids and the people that
Kids
are
at
kids
heart."
at heart."
Exactly.
Right.
But my thing is like that shit does not look like easy. Like it looks like like how is it for kids?
I agree. It looks convoluted.
I can agree with that to an extent, but it also looked like on the software itself there actually was like legitimate instructions that you could like use the gamepad, the Switch screen, to actually slowly go through to actually see how to fold everything in together. So it looked like there was some pretty simple diagrams you could follow along with in order to actually build these things. So I think it's definitely going to be possible.
No,
if you look at some of the advertisements too, it looks like they're trying to make this a sort of like parent-child like bonding type thing.
Again, I was gonna get into that because I genuinely do think that if you're a parent and you want to get more involved with your kid's life and you want to get them off their cell phones, everything, you want to get them off the Angry Birds, get them off that Candy Crush, get them off that Candy Crush, and be like, hey, let's build something out of cardboard. We can play with it together. You know, it's genuinely a good idea. I can see myself building it with my like. I have a few 6 and 7-year-old nieces and nephews. I think I would definitely build this with them.
And what's interesting too is that I think Nintendo Labo actually has the possibility of being an educational thing as well.
Oh, it definitely does.
Yeah,
especially
I was
for
saying,
kid.
It doesn't look simple, so
it definitely doesn't. But I also know that in part of the trailer, they actually showed a diagram of like a light hitting like a reflective sticker on the back to get it to work.
Wow.
I think they were actually trying to explain how it actually works. Like, it is sort of a learning software to actually learn how these things work, though, when you're tinkering with these things.
It could be a sort of first step towards things like engineering.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, yeah, definitely. It's definitely like a good way to teach kids like how to build and create things, and also dabble a little bit in DIY.
Yeah,
totally true. And I think it kind of caters to a market where we're not thinking about. It's like people who likes to like. I can probably assume all you guys have played Legos before, right? Building.
Well, I mean, I never grew up with Legos, but I played with them a little bit.
And also the people, you know, that the Minecraft is a big market out there.
Minecraft's like its own culture in itself.
Right, but my point is like the creative aspect of people want to create something is instilled in a lot of these people that they like to play these things, like the Lego Technic sets, the Minecraft, and in the end is what they want to. I think they try and tap in that market, but in a different way. So
I can definitely see it working for that market for sure.
It's definitely smart for them to go for that kind of market, considering that the Nintendo Direct Mini that happened before this ended on a kind of hardcore note, if you want to go by that, by adding in like Dark Souls and like focusing a lot on these kind of games.
Oh yeah,
and then having Nintendo Labo pretty much what was it, like a week and a half later or something.
It kind of tones things down a little bit.
Exactly,
right. 100%.
Kind of shows that they're catering to all audiences, not just one. They're trying to, I guess,
right.
All right. But yeah, I have one legitimate question for all of you, and correct me if you guys didn't think this, but when the very first time you saw the Nintendo Labo with the robot kit, who first thought that it was a good step towards VR a little bit?
Okay, so when they zoomed out and they showed the guy with the pack on and the whole setup, for a second, for like a split second, I did think that.
Same here.
For a split second, only because he had that thing on his in front of his eyes. But
for a second I thought he had this. I thought they had the screen inside that visor, and then you were able to like punch stuff and like legitimately. Because I could definitely see this be like a good prototype towards VR, and if people actually like moving around with the robots, so maybe they'll actually start thinking about VR a little bit more.
Why don't they you know how some cell phones have that cardboard thing you could put over your eyes?
Like Google Cardboard?
They could probably do something like that.
That would actually be. I'd be down to see that. Actually, that would actually be a really good idea.
I do wonder if the Switch is powerful enough for VR. You know how you have to simulate two screens and have it.
At the current moment, I've been watching a lot of other channels that are discussing about the power of the Nintendo Switch. I don't think it's possible with the Tegra 1. It probably if it's Tegra 2 or future iterations, similar closest to like the G-Force. I'm into computer hardware, guys. I don't know. You're wondering.
Oh yeah, same here. I mean,
I'm aware the Tegra X1 is pretty good, and the Tegra X2 is it strong enough to handle VR? I'm not sure.
I mean,
we don't know yet. That's the thing.
Knowing
Right.
Nintendo and
I mean, I know for a fact that VR definitely takes a very powerful setup in order to handle VR in any shape or form, especially something like the Vive or the Oculus Rift.
Right.
Yeah. The PlayStation VR is like the discount VR.
I actually tried that for a little bit. I pretty much kind of agree with you on that, Mandy.
Mm-hmm.
I have no experience with VR, so I can't say whether or not I would be into the idea.
You should definitely at least give it a shot once, though, because VR is definitely its own experience in itself.
Oh, I'd love to try it. I just don't know anyone around me that owns it.
Yeah,
for me to try it.
Unfortunately, VR headsets are very expensive.
Right.
And you need a lot of space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to go back to the cost, the power argument that you guys were having earlier, saying that the Nintendo Switch may not be powerful enough for handling VR. But knowing Nintendo and going back, like their consoles have never really been known to be really powerful yet. They've been really good at optimizing their software and making things things that you wouldn't think would be possible work on pretty low-end hardware. So I wouldn't totally
count them out yet for that.
The idea of having VR is still, it might be possible knowing what Nintendo can do.
That's true, and especially with Nintendo having a history of revisiting their hardware and kind of updating it, we may be able to get VR with something like a new Nintendo Switch, quote unquote.
I would not be surprised if eventually we get like a Switch XL of some sort.
Yeah.
I just hope they don't call it a new Nintendo Switch.
I hope not either, because
Nintendo Switch
more confusing.
Do you guys remember whenever they revised the motion controls in the Wii Remote, they actually added the Wii Motion Plus and they built it into the Wii Remote? I'm actually thinking they could do something similar where they had some sort of co-processor or something inside Joy-Cons, and you wouldn't have to get a new system. You'd just be able to plug in the new Joy-Cons and they'll be able to use that to, I guess, augment or enhance the Switch's processing capabilities.
Well, the Joy-Cons seem like very advanced, like in that Nintendo Robo, like they were doing all sorts of things with the Joy-Con.
Yeah.
That weird little like drone car they were driving around just using the vibration.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that robot.
Cool.
Yeah,
that one kind of threw me off for a bit. The fact that you're like controlling the Joy-Cons with the screen.
Yeah,
that was weird.
From what I've seen, the Nintendo Labo, it gives you some ideas, I guess, for where you can start, but it has this, on the actual Labo page, it says create new ways to play, and it looks like it has some sort of, I guess, interface, or the software makes it so that you can actually make your own creations or whatever. It's not just whatever they give you in the box. You can actually create and make your own ideas, so...
Keep in mind, not all the ones that were shown off in the video were actually including the kit, I don't think. I think that one that looked like a camera, I don't think actually was part of the kit, and I don't think the one that looked like kind of like a super scope, in a sense, didn't actually look like it was in the kit either.
Yeah, I believe it's like the piano. Like I think it's about 5 of the ones you've seen are part of it.
It was the piano. The motorbike, the fishing rod, I'm not sure what else. Those only three I actually remember.
Pedal. I saw a pedal there.
Oh yeah, I don't think that was included in the kit either.
Yeah.
So you could kind of tell what Nintendo's going to be pushing out more kits down the line.
Yeah, definitely.
Something about those kits actually is, I don't know how true this is, but I actually read online that apparently Nintendo won't be replacing any cardboard inserts or whatever if you damage them, so I don't know how it's gonna go with
Nintendo actually did, that is one thing I forgot to mention. Nintendo actually did say they will put out the patterns and stuff, so you could actually print them out yourself on cardboard if you wanted to.
Oh really?
I guess that solves that problem.
Yeah, I believe they are going to give you like a free template design that you can get.
I do know
Just
that
make your own game.
they're also going to include like extra cardboard in the actual kits themselves in case like the kid messes up or anything like that.
Like, you
Well-
know, you have a pet that wants to use it as a scratching post, or, you know,
Yeah.
you bring it to your friend's house and it suddenly decides to open up and rain on you.
My
You
thing
know, that
is,
typical thing.
my grandma will probably throw it away because she thinks it's trash.
Speaking of which, I actually read a story on Nintendo Life that apparently at some German video game store, a cleaner almost mistook the Labo for trash and almost actually threw it out. Like,
Oh, yeah, I saw that article about that, too. The fact that someone almost threw out a Labo thinking it was garbage.
Yeah, it was the I think it was the German version of like the ESRB that just kind of
yeah,
somebody thought it was trash over there.
Oh yeah,
the US kid.
that was hilarious.
Mm.
I was like, my grandma would do the same thing.
Yeah, so if anyone's planning on getting it, let everyone else know that it's not garbage.
Oh, yeah. Overall, though, I definitely think that Nintendo Labo definitely has some potential, though, to be a good thing for like, parents and kids to do together. And overall, I think it's definitely something creative. Definitely not something we haven't seen before.
Yeah,
Just think the overall consensus is positive. Some people are cautious, but we'll see how it treated in the market once it goes released.
and
So
if
far,
anything, you don't have to buy it. So
there's
Yeah.
that, right? Because like I brought up earlier in this podcast, not everything needs to appeal to you.
Oh, yeah, definitely not. Yeah, we all have our own styles, our own tastes, and that's. But again, we all just come together for the love of Nintendo. That's what matters.
Definitely.
yeah,
Right.
A really interesting idea I've actually seen being thrown around is comparing Amiibo and Nintendo Labo. And someone threw out the idea, since the Yoshi game, the new Yoshi game that's coming out, everything seems to be made of paper and string and all that they might make a Yoshi game Labo kit similar to the way you have Amiibos for different games. You can have Labo kits for different games.
Oh yeah, well if there's a Yoshi Labo kit, I'll end up getting that.
What if they essentially fuse the ideas together and have an Amiibo base that works with the game, but you have to build the little Yoshi and it goes onto the base?
well, that's my problem. I don't want it to impede on games. Like,
Mm-hmm.
like
I mean, it can always be used as like an optional way to play it.
Yeah.
yeah, optional is the way to go. Cause
I will admit though that if it starts crossing over, I guess like Mandy brought up earlier, that it starts getting involved with other games that I want to play. After a while, I might get honestly a little too lazy to build everything for every game that comes out.
Oh yeah, for sure. But I think the only two games I can actually see a Labo kit being developed for is that new Yoshi game, or if they ever make another Paper Mario game.
yeah,
Probably.
Those are the only two series I could probably ever see them making a Labo kit for.
Yeah.
Everything else is just kind of up there in the air at this point.
Although I question is that every at least from the Labo kits we've seen, which is like one video worth, every kit has the Joy-Cons and the Switch console itself doing something specific to kind of immerse you into what you're doing. What exactly would Yoshi and Paper Mario have that would kind of replicate that same idea?
I was thinking
That
the same
is-
thing.
Yeah, that is a genuinely good question. Again, we're not Nintendo, sadly, but if I were to guess, maybe Yoshi's could somehow end up like having you maybe make like some sort of way to aim your Joy-Cons like Yoshi throws his egg somehow, maybe.
That would actually be
And
really
maybe
cool.
maybe for Paper Mario somehow like finding some way to maybe like make a paper hammer, and then like if it's like the original two Paper Mario games, maybe you could just have the Nintendo. Maybe you could just have a paper hammer, like a cardboard hammer, hit a button.
This is where Nintendo magic comes to play. We don't know what Nintendo's thinking all the time. That's the thing.
So many opportunities, so many possibilities.
Yeah.
Right,
If they can do
100%.
cardboard, we don't know what the possibilities of the future. I tell you that.
Alright,
Just
well,
like
I was thinking we talk about the idea of a full Nintendo Direct happening. Since there's a lot of people online freaking out about Nintendo Direct Mini happening, they also believe that usually there is a full Nintendo Direct that follows it after.
I mean, seeing
I give it like another month or two, and then we'll definitely end up getting another.
We should
another
get
direct,
another
I
one.
feel.
yeah, I wouldn't
we should
expect
get-
it
Yeah.
so soon, especially since the mini just dropped a couple of days ago. I think it's going to be a while before we get the full direct.
Mhm.
Yeah, I wouldn't even be in a rush for that because I think we got some pretty decent announcements at the mini direct.
Right.
Yeah, and they'll probably drop it out of nowhere. So
Again.
Again, we never know how Nintendo works, but if I were to guess, I'd say maybe like another month or two we'll probably get another direct, like maybe end of February, beginning of March, maybe April at the latest.
Right, because according to, let's say, Reddit, for example, there's a lot of people who seem to believe that usually if Nintendo drops a mini, within 20 days or so, they tend to release a full one. But I kind of question that, especially now that they also did a whole Nintendo Labo announcement.
Yeah.
You'd think.
So yeah, I definitely think we could wait a while before another Nintendo Direct comes around.
What I think is a lot of the announcements, a lot of the games can be released around the first quarter to even second quarter of this year. And with that in mind, they tend to release a direct when a little bit it gets dry a little bit, meaning like they release most of their titles out, and by the time at the end of the first quarter, meaning around February and March up to April, that's usually will drop something bigger. And so I say they want to do something before the end of the first quarter because that's now gearing towards closer to E3. So we're more likely we'll get one. It's within maybe a month and a half.
Yeah. Another thing is
like
yeah. Go ahead.
With the Switch when it first came out, it had no games, but it just that changed
Breath
now.
of the Wild and a few other games like Puyo Puyo Tetris and yeah.
Right.
Mario Kart Deluxe.
What I was going to say was they're probably going to release the Direct sometime before the end of the fiscal year since they probably want to increase stock value and all that before their investor meetings and all that to make make a lasting impact, I guess. And so probably sometime, definitely before March, so probably sometime end of February, beginning of March, I'm guessing.
Right. Okay. Well, let's see. Oh yeah, I don't know if you guys heard, but Nintendo Labo is actually coming out with customizable sets as well.
Oh yeah, you said.
Yeah, like you could it's basically about $10, I believe, and it just comes with a bunch of like stickers of different Nintendo games, I think it was.
Oh yeah, it's like a decal set basically. Mario's eyes, Bowser's eyes, different like decals.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Different decals that would I guess add to the customization nature of it, because you could paint it and do all those things that you I guess would want to do to make it look good.
Color it.
Yeah, right.
So basically like DLC for Nintendo Labo.
Yes.
Yeah, in a sense.
In a sense, right. All right, well, I think that's all the topics we have to talk about. I will ask, however, for one last thing, and that's what games are you guys looking forward to the most in 2018 that we know of course?
For me would be Bayonetta.
Bayonetta 3?
Good choice.
Hello?
Yeah, very good choice.
Oh, yeah, very good choice.
For me, I would say I wasn't thinking of Bayonetta 3, but that's a very solid choice. But Metroid Prime 4.
Oh, definitely.
Metroid Prime. I'm hoping it releases this year.
Yeah.
For me, right? Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say it seems very unlikely, seeing as they just announced that they're beginning development last year in E3. So I'm guessing it's definitely going to be probably end of year at the earliest. But I think it's very unlikely that Metroid Prime 4 is going to be coming out this year.
Yeah.
It's a game of that caliber, that scope, a big game like that tends to take a very long time to develop.
Right. I would love if it released this year, but I'm also pretty skeptical on that happening.
Same here.
But you never say never. Yeah. They actually they got out the Xenoblade Chronicles 2, and I thought that would never reach last year.
Yeah, you are right about that. I was fully prepared to wait another 2 years for that game.
Yeah. I think if we don't get... Go ahead. No, go ahead. Sorry.
I mean, if Metroid Prime 4 doesn't come out, there's always Pokemon for the Switch, too.
Would that be your most anticipated?
I know, for me right now, it's definitely a tie between Kirby Star Allies and Mario Tennis Aces, but Pokemon Switch definitely as well.
Right. All right, well, I'll say that for me personally, it's a franchise that I've been really into since the Wii, since that's when it started. But I'm really looking forward to No More Heroes.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah, that also is going to be pretty good, too.
Yeah.
I'm totally into the idea of the game as well.
Yeah, that's a title that not many people talk about, but it is on its way.
Right. So since no one really talks about it like that, I take every opportunity I can to push it.
Right.
All right. Well,
what about you
guys want to say? What's that?
What about you, Eagle? What game are you looking forward to this year?
Well, I've never really been into Kirby games, and I'd really like to get into it. So I'm really looking forward to Kirby Star Allies. But other than that, another game I've never really been into was Dark Souls, and it looks really interesting. I've never played it before, so definitely going to be trying that whenever it comes out.
Nice. I might also pick up Dark Souls as well.
Well, I hope you have fun with it. And if you do get Dark Souls on Switch, I'll totally try to help you out. Try to play that with you. All right. Well, do you guys have any last points you want to bring out before we end this podcast?
I'm good.
I think we pretty much covered everything, just about.
Covered everything. It's a good month for Nintendo. It's only 20 days in 2018, and looking forward to more things to come.
Lots of good things on the horizon for Nintendo for sure.
Yeah.
That's right. All right. Well, if that's everything, this has been the first episode of the Nintendo Bitcast. NintendoCade, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me. It was,
Thanks for coming on, man.
All right.
All right. And I'll see you guys next time. And hopefully next month we'll meet again and talk about whatever it is Nintendo's been doing then.
All right.
Okay.
Well, again, you all take care then, guys.
You
All
too.
right.
Take care.
Same. Have a good one.
Bye.